Hello YouTube, Infinite Magicraid community, Gandalf here. Often I've said that after the release of the 7 Sages of Liuli, this has become probably one of the most important content you need to probably start thinking about focusing on mid-game or even early game. Remember what I said is um, even in the earlier divisions, in the early division there's a lot less competition. And what that means, you are much more likely to be claiming better rewards. And this is a time gated content. So the further you fall behind, the later you start on this, the more lower ranked you are on this, the more you're going to fall behind in terms of breaking through your heroes and just pushing them to the next level. I'm making a long list of all the different type of content to make, especially recognizing there's a lot more new players joining the game because the anniversary has just joined, and there's just a lot to talk about, and I have to plan out a lot of things. But at least over the next 7 days, I think what I would do for sure is cover the strategy on each one of these bosses for both the newer players as well as the seasoned players, because the seasoned players are all trying to push for top rank and how to optimize your teams. I know when you look at again, let's go back quickly. Um, yes, you can check ranking today, right? You can check what kind of team people are using. Most of, if you're an early game player, you might have struggles around getting all of these heroes. But if you're a late game player, you might be thinking about what is the turn order? If I have the best gear to move around, which hero should the best gear be on? Anything noting about turn order, echoes, what can we move around that's for free that can be used to optimize some of these runs? I'll be going to the detail in these videos, and I'll be going through them for every boss every single one of the days for the next 7 days, and I'll make a playlist out of it. Just given how impactful this content has become to players. So with that out of the way, we'll start the series today, and uh, on the lower end, hopefully, here's what I would say, right? I'm on difficulty 3. So by the time you hit difficulty 3, you're required to have 3 damage dealers of that type. Um, I would say hopefully in the first month of you playing, you would have gotten, I would say, 1 damage type of each hero, hopefully. So at least you can start and participate in this content. Maybe a difficulty, hopefully you're able to defeat all the difficulty 1, quickly move to difficulty 2. Because you could use a main damage dealer and just do the last, I think, was it 30 mil or 50 mil of the damage on the specific damage type. So there are quite a few options and easily accessible heroes early game that will help take care of things. For example, um, for bleed, the bleed hero, you can use Makin. For HP burn, you can use Hazanja. That should easily be able to clear the first one. Direct damage dealer might actually be a little bit tricky, but Nordak is actually a direct damage dealer. So if you can find a way to have him join attack or counter attack with good timing with Catherine, you might be able to do enough damage. For burn hero might be a little bit tricky. If some of you are lucky and got the recent Chelsea hero, or I guess or Malosh. Malosh was a common one a lot of people have access to. So let's see if any of these heroes at the lower ranks people are using, right? So for example, the one I'm talking about today, Makin will be for bleed. This is the direct damage one. I know a lot of people might not have really good direct damage dealer early on, but Nordak is actually a really good option early on for just doing direct damage. Agatha is a great choice for doing direct damage once you get her. Um, Even at E0, right? If we scroll down on this one, we're talking about HP burn. I know a lot of people have Eratos, but if you don't have Eratos, Hazanja is a great choice for getting the first one done. And over here, Sega City, I know a lot of people top end. Everybody has Shao Ring now, so you should be able to do really well with Shao Ring. Um, so and you can see my team because you have Damu and Indra. I recently just cleared stage 4, and Shao Ring is not built. But once I have Shao Ring, this will be a very decent team setup. I should be taking out. Yeah, now that we're on stage 5, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 internal injury heroes, so I can't even use Eratos anymore. So I really need showing, and the mechanics get a lot harder once you get to the higher stages. But the thing is, from a ranking perspective, I can just do like little tiny amount of damage and I'll be fine, because I just need to you know, there's you automatically beat all the people from the previous tier, right? Over here, we're Burn Hero. Malosh is a common hero a lot of people have. This is really weird. How did Tom use 2 Chelsea? This must be a display issue, because this makes absolutely no sense. Oh, there we go. Okay, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Now he's using Little Jack. Yeah. So if you have access to Little Jack, you can push your way up. Chelsea's a really strong hero. Not a lot of people have invested in Burn. But what you can see is every level up, you're required to have more of that tag, which makes it increasingly difficult and really difficult for newer players to focus on. Now I did do a PowerPoint presentation on this in terms of the best heroes for each of the damage types, and of course that naturally will speak more to the end game players. But early game, you have to think about at what point do you want to start focusing on this content, right? So here, poison hero, Nita is a great choice. Nita is just easily accessible. Well, it might be the next mythic I actually go for if I really think about it. People had a chance to get Willa recently. A lot of people pick up Emmer Candle. So this is a really good option early game, even though Nita will not make the end game team. But Veronica is another really good choice. So for me, you can see I got my Veronica built. And finally, this will depend on what is the allowable heroes, but this is always the flex one on the weekend, and you need to come up with the best team. So at least every Sunday will be a little bit different. So what I would say is, I mentioned that on I think on the last video in terms of the new playthrough series, I said, I've now gotten myself to the advanced book, and really it's just the faction abyss to finish off the beginner's guide. See, they call this the beginner's guide, the beginner's challenge, right? So you can't even say you finish, out of the beginner phase in this game until you get all those things done yet. So that tells you there's a lot more to go, right? Now, once you get your dungeon farming well established across the board, farming anywhere between, hopefully up to 35, pushing beyond 35 is pretty difficult. Like anywhere between 30 to 35 probably is a good place to be. Where given where you're at, if you're about 2-3 months into the game, you got your various arena teams completed so that you can at least participate, be maybe in the top 100 and you're in a kind of general safe spot. I think this is the moment where you start building out your roster. Before the introduction of 7 Sages and before, Planar Rift and Purgatory of 7 Sins, at this point you kind of feel like you're now into that endless grind. I mean, you would either push Endless Cloister to go a little bit higher, or you do Elemental City. You make sure you can do Elemental City every 2 weeks. You would potentially just start pushing high scores, right? Like you will want to focus on getting your Wuthering Coast to the next damage threshold, or you maybe we didn't have Ultimate Trial before, but you would start working on these specific teams for damage threshold. But with the existence of 7 Sages, you really need to start now building out your roster. So what you want to do is start planning out with all of your heroes, how many bleed heroes do I have, for example, right? Look at your bleed heroes. Well, what to really prioritize on. If you are short on, one of the type of damage in that particular department, you might want to start building it out, right? For example, here, as you can see, my bleeders, we were using these 3. Now that I need to focus on building 3 of each, right? So poison, I'll most likely probably build Dakota or get Anita to match the other 2, because once I get to the 3rd stage, I need 3 solid ones. For burn, you can see that I'm starting to also build out my burn team. So I probably should regress Barry. Barry actually doesn't have any skills. I regressed him, took all the skills away. But most likely I will be doing, Chelsea with Malosh and Barry. Barry is just a placeholder. I mean, I think even Anna might be better just simply because of the passive, or actually Feist, the passive here, to just all do more burn damage when Feist survives, right? So versus Anna, how much is it burn for the entire team, right? Increase each. It's only self damage. Can be increased for allies. So you're but until she's had her exclusive, I think. Yeah, increase burn damage for all allies at 30%. So I need 2 exclusive Iana. So Feist might even be a better, just purely buffing damage, right? So this is a really cheap option. We talked about burn, HP burn, Hazanja, Adhesion, if you're lucky to have Eratos, any of the heroes that actually do HP burn damage completely. So these are really good choices, but you need to have 3 of each, right? So, and then we would get to I think we got all of these done. Oh, finally Sega City internal injury. So hopefully people have Moshi. Hopefully you have Demu and Indra and Xiaoying, or even if you just have Moshi and Xiaoying, plus any of the other epic, even Judge Lu will make a really good 3 hero for early game. Finally, for direct damage, there's actually a lot of good options. So Agatha is actually a really good pick. Nordak is a really good pick. If you're lucky to have Lydia is actually good, especially at E2 to help you reduce the cooldown. And this is really just to cycle then pair up with counterattack. Whatever fits your fancy, right? If you happen to have Bethany and Dez, that's a great combo. The 2 of them, if you're lucky enough to have Jingle Bell mixed in there, that's even better. You probably want to, by the time you get to the 3rd phase, you need to actually start taking care of mechanics. So maybe this is the opportunity for me to kind of actually switch to the other screen. And what you will notice over here is, we'll run this attempt. And, this is where, what's really nice is on the first 2 bosses, right? So for stage 1 and stage 2, what's even nicer is some of these mechanics don't even apply to you, especially in the first stage, because it's only later on you start, you're required to deal with some of these more complicated mechanics, where, for example, for the bleed boss, you need to remove the boss's Monkey King circle, right? If you don't remove this buff, they're gonna have more reduced final damage, and it's gonna impact your damage. So starting, I think from stage 3 and higher, some of these mechanics coming to apply. This is where you got to start thinking about your team composition. So that's why for this setup, because all the bleed heroes actually don't have a strip remove, this wolf, getting 1 copy of the wolf and be able to use the pet ability to remove the buff from the enemy becomes a huge requirement for this boss at high end when you're pushing for high score. So that's one of the first thing I would note. The second thing here is noting that for allies that are not under stealth, you're going to be having reduced attacks. So this means a couple of things. One, Morikis obviously stealth herself, so she's kind of immune to this type of damage. So you can build Morikis the normal way you build it. Your main damage is, so there's a couple of situations where you can run. Now, endgame players, they actually use Veronica Valentina, the Elemental City hero boss, and use her unique passive to just increase bleed damage taken from the enemy. We don't have Veronica here on this account, so in this case, probably Grace might be it's better to use Veronica instead of Grace. Grace here helps with survivability a lot, but we already got a good shield from Chardonnay, and we have Narch, that provides us a defense up. Having consolidation from Grace is a nice to have and some additional shields. But given Grace is going to be the one that's going to be eating a lot of the attack down because she is an attack-based hero, you can't expect a lot of the damage to come from Grace. So in this setup, what you want to do is actually put your best DPS gear. Of course, make Marcus take your effective hit on whatever gear. But when it comes to your penetration set, highest attack and mastery, put it actually on Lysander, because Lysander is going to take a shot whenever one of your allies take a turn. On your team, what you can do is Chardonnay can be built actually very fast, because Chardonnay want to make sure he's always applying the debuff. I don't have exclusive 3 here. Once you have exclusive 3, you can even apply attack down as well from Chardonnay, which is going to be really help with survivability. So Chardonnay should be really fast and turn cycle, making sure your team always have speed up 2, making sure the enemy is always debuff with heavy bleed, and every time he takes a turn, Chardonnay gets a shot. Likewise, you can put Grace on very high speed set as well. Optimize more over speed than damage, because she's not going to be doing a lot of damage. Look how many debuffs she has already on Grace, right? Her attack is literally next to none by this point. But her damage really is coming from all of these turn cycles, enabling every time you take a turn, Lysander shoots, right? So high speed means more Lysander turns, so Lysander is going to be doing a ton of damage for you. Narch is going to be immune to all of this because he's defense type. He doesn't have to be cloaked. So this Narch can be just built regularly to optimize for Narch's personal damage. Of course, I don't have the best aura here, but and because Chardonnay has speed up, really good opportunity to actually run Santa's Echo on Chardonnay to just get that overall damage buff onto the entire team. You have one spot left. So for example, Narch here, I would actually use Chardonnay's Echo, which is great. I promise I will do in-depth Echo review. It's on my to-do list. Grace, great opportunity to put Traveler's Diary. So this is going to help boost from an Echo damage perspective for the entire team skill damage. So there you go, 2.55 mil. In our division legendary, this is top 3. Of course, I'm sure Flurry and Weak Beginnings, they're able to do more, better echoes, just better gear in general. Here I have a few standard presets that I move things around that help this setup, but hopefully this kind of spells out of the strategy a little bit. If you have a Valentina, you can put Valentina on very high speed and replace Grace, because it's her unique passive that's going to amplify the team's damage, not her personal damage. The personal damage mostly come from the rest. Finally, it does get very, very annoying, and it's very, very expensive if you want to try to gear up everyone. So that's why it's really important to make these presets. For example, for me, I just named them. I have the attack mastery, 2 of them. Like I have the Indra set gets moved around to all of the bleeders to help, right? So name kind of a few common set of gear and then just move it around and move it back. This is unfortunately going to be painful. We can't run presets with borrowed gear. I wish we can get that one day, but for the time being, we don't have that. So yeah, so there you have it. Hopefully, this video is helpful for you to maximize your personal damage and get a lot of that breakthrough material. Tomorrow we'll cover the Sunday boss, which is going to be a mix, but I'll maybe share a few general tips and tricks around how to build those team composition, what to look for, and what will be really helpful. And I'll catch you in the video tomorrow. Gandalf out.